load screen. Give me a second. I got to put the mock draft back in again. Yep, a couple more seconds. Let me crop this. Hey, okay, hold on. I'm making some minor adjustments. Can you hear me? Okay. Sorry about that. I got kicked out. Okay. Right, you guys ready? Oh, your head's cut off a little bit. Okay, guys, in 3, 2. Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and today we've got a special treat for all of you. It is a live half-point PPR mock draft with some of our favorite folks in the fantasy football world. You know him, of course, from the NFL Network. He is a man of many traits. He also works over at the Fantasy Life, because that's the kind of life he is. He's the one, the only Marcas Grant, and his best new bud, who is one of my old buds here, my Jersey boy, who a year ago I'm having dinner with, and now he's out there in LA being cool, researching for NFL Total Access. He's LaQuan Jones. He's out there also working on the fantasy side of things as well. Oh, yeah, and look who showed up, too, from Cape Cod. He's fresh off of his mocktails, a little bit of sailing. It's Andrew Erickson. Gentlemen, I hope you are ready, because today we got an amazing half-point PPR mock draft set up with some of our users. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Fantasy Pros YouTube channel, because we're going to be doing more of these all off season long, getting you prepped for the draft. All the pods are on here, all of the short form videos. I just released all of the top 10 league winners. That's a video you can't miss. So subscribe and click that little bell till it goes ding for notifications. And gentlemen, well, not Erickson. He's got dad jokes, but he ain't a father yet. Gentlemen, let me say happy Father's Day to both of you. And also, I got to get this real quick, Marcus, because you are the connoisseur. I haven't seen it yet. How's the new Spider-Verse movie compared to the first one?
Holy expletive. I mean, it is. And I loved the first one. The second one probably knocks it out. I mean, it is amazing. And it's set up for a third. So I don't even know. Like, they somehow topped themselves with the second one. I don't know how they topped this one. It was really that good.
Oh, I remember when the first one came out, you basically yelling at me, "What do you mean you haven't seen it yet? What is your problem?" And I took it. I took the pain there. LaQuan, you just saw Flash too. So should I go see Spider-Verse first or Flash first?
Spider-Verse, definitely.
Okay.
I mean, Spider-Verse was elite, man. Again, I went in with not low expectations, but I didn't think it would be that good. I don't want to spoil it, but I didn't think everything would tie in. And I'm like, whoa, this is really, really good.
There you go. Erickson, are you a superhero? Do you have any special talents here that you want to share with us here? No
super talents for me. People say that I look like the actor that plays Spider-Man, whose name is escaping me for some reason.
Oh, Tom Holland.
Yeah, Tom Holland.
This is a Tom Holland quality.
So that's my superpower, super doppelganger.
I think of you as like a combination of all three of them together. That's how I think of you. All the different Spider-Mans. But we're going to jump right into it here. And we're also using some of our friends on our Discord channel, fantasypros.com/chat. So again, if you want to be involved in some of these fun things that we're doing here with our good friends in that community, go join them. fantasypros.com/chat. Again, our Discord is free to join. If you're a premium subscriber, you get access to a whole lot more channels, including our mock draft channel, which is where I pulled all these good folks from. So shout out to everyone who's joining us today. We've got some of our favorites out there too. McTunda's in here. I see Hope for Venezuela. I don't see Fox in here though, so you guys got a breather here because she usually kicks everyone's rear end. So let's kick things off here and let us start the draft. The first pick here, Chris selects Christian McCaffrey. Again, half-point PPR. We're going 2 running backs, 3 wide. We've got the flex position in there too. We're going to do defense today. I'm going to throw that out there at the boys. But after that, we had Cooper Kupp go second to LaQuan Jones. And LaQuan, you are a Rams guy. So you have zero fear here, it seems like, of going Cooper Kupp here, even the half PPR.
No, I mean, we've seen this guy bounce back from injury, and he put up a amazing year coming back from injury. And this year, I actually feel a little down about the Rams defense. So I feel like they're going to be playing from behind a little bit. So, Vime is king, and Cooper Kupp is the elite guy. I mean, even when he went out with injury, he still was the guy the last 2 weeks. I mean, 2 weeks after he was injured. So what are we talking about here with Cooper Kupp?
What are we talking about here? We're talking about practice. Next is Marcus Grant with the 3rd overall pick. I'm picking 4th. I love how you guys went right ahead of me. This is going to make for good theater on the draft today. Marcus, let's talk about your selection here. You get my 1-1 from last year slipping all the way to you at 3. Let's talk about Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I was amazed, right? I'm with you. I think he is the 1-1 this year. I know a lot of people did that last year, and it seems like while there's no such thing as a consensus anymore, he's the closest thing to that. So I was surprised. I guess I shouldn't have been knowing that LaQuan was ahead of me. I should not have been surprised. After Jefferson didn't go 1, I should have known he was probably going to fall to me. But I was a little bit. I was prepared. I'm like, do I go Jamar Chase? Do I go Tyreek Hill? And lo and behold, Justin Jefferson falls in my lap.
There you go. Falling in my lap, again, half-point PPR. It was a real tough call between Chase and Bijan, but I've decided to put my mouth where my money is because I just continue to talk about Bijan Robinson, who's going to end up being the number 1 RB in football this year in fantasy football. So I've already talked about it a lot, but let's talk about him some more because there's a microphone in front of me. This is the guy, folks. Tyler Algier, who we were joking about before the show started, had over 1,000 yards rushing in this offense last year. This is an offensive line built to run the football with a coach that wants to run the football in an offense that needs to run the football, and they have a generational running back talent here in Bijan Robinson on their hands. So I expect him to have an incredible rookie season. And remember, it's not like it can't happen. We had Zeke, we had Saquon. Those are rookie seasons that were right there in the precipice of 1 overall. Next up is Sty One Lee selecting Austin Eckler, then Jamar Chase. What a value here. 106 to McTunda. Oat Dog selecting Saquon Barkley at 107. Then, of course, to Travis Kelce to DF Dub Scrubs. Venezuela taking Jonathan Taylor. And look at this, Mr. BPE, Tom Holland, sitting there at the bottom of the draft with 2 picks. What'd you do, Erickson?
Took Nick Chubb, running back for the Cleveland Browns, the NFL's best pure rusher. And I know that Jerome Ford is going to put up monster numbers this year if you just read any OTA report. But I'm going to chase the guy that, no matter what, 5 yards per carry every single year. And for the first time ever, he has an elite quarterback. So I think Nick Chubb's ceiling is through the roof. And even if he doesn't hit his ceiling, oh no, he finished as RB5 and I drafted him in the first round. I'll be okay with Nick Chubb.
Okay, you will be okay with Nick Chubb. Who'd you go for your second pick?
I'm not on the clock yet, so not there yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were at the turn here. I'm doing this mobily because I was having some problems here earlier. So I got to shift over my screen. My apologies. The 11th pick is FF Colader. I think I had one of those in Dunkin' Donuts last week. Tyreek Hill goes, then Stephon Diggs to the Stealth Goblin. You got to watch the Stealth Goblin at the 12 spot. I'm sorry. BPE is at the 10 spot. My apologies. So Diggs and Ramondre Stevenson, not a bad start there. Especially in the half PPR, you're going to have all of the touches probably going to Ramondre. He's going to catch the football too. He's going to have a lot of those goal line looks. So, look, everybody knows I'm a big wide receiver proponent here early in these drafts. But, Erickson, let's talk about for a second. When you go down to the half PPR, to me, that touchdown equity really matters a whole lot more. That's the tiebreaker all the time for me. So how much do you value that running back position and that wide receiver position at the same time as you go ahead and make your selection next?
Well, for me, I like to go with a hero RB approach in most of my drafts that I do. I like to lock and load that one running back that I feel really confident about, which is Nick Chubb. And then I just continue to dial away at the wide receiver position, especially looking at guys that I think have a lot of touchdown upside. And for me, that's A.J. Brown. Like, I think that A.J. Brown he's going to be 26 years old this year. And a lot of the rhetoric about A.J. Brown is, oh, well, Devonta Smith was the 1A to 1B to A.J. Brown. It's like, well, A.J. Brown was still the 1A. Like, he's still Batman, even if, Devonta Smith is a little bit more than a Robin as we bring in more comic book references here so I can try to keep up
Yeah,
with
it's
you
a very
guys.
comic heavy show today, but I expect nothing less when Marcas is around.
I think A.J. Brown in an offense, if this Eagles defense regresses in any way, the Eagles were always playing ahead in games last year. They were never trailing in games. And A.J. Brown still had a monster year. So if they're trailing more, they have to throw more. Jalen Hurts takes another step as a passer. I think A.J. Brown can turn around another monster season. So I love getting him as my wide receiver 1.
After Stevenson went in the beginning of the second round, you had Josh Jacobs, then Brown, then CeeDee Lamb to Venezuela. DF Dub took Devontae Adams. Lots of big discussions about the concern of this year being one of these down years potentially for Devontae with Jimmy Garoppolo, his questionable health all the time around. Then Tony Pollard, second round to Oat Dog. You would be very proud, Debro, of Oat Dog, starting there with Tony Pollard in the second round. Then Breece Hall goes to McTunda. I'm up in 2 picks here. So continuing to look at this draft board and what's available to us here. Still some really quality players on the board. And remember, we're using our mock draft software. So if you haven't already, download the Draft Wizard. Download the app. It's free. And go ahead and make some selections and try some mock drafts. Get some friends. If you have any friends, if you don't have friends, get some enemies and start making some mock drafts for you. Now, this is really tempting because to me, there's a big drop off. I don't know if I'm gone back-to-back running back all year. But man, in this half PPR, I'm super tempted and I'm going to do it. This is so un-Joe-like. But I'm going to go ahead and take Najee Harris. Breece Hall went off the board after Pollard, then Derrick Henry. So I'm going to take Najee, who I think is that last guy. So now I got Najee Harris, Bijan Robinson. I might not take another running back until, I don't know, Thursday. Let's see here. After me, Marcus Grant, you're on the clock with 14 seconds. What are you doing?
We're going to the Sun God, partially because as a card carrying USC alum, I have to make sure I try to get a Trojan in somewhere along my drafts, but also just because in half PPR, the guy that wide receiver whisperer himself, Matt Harmon, refers to as Bud Light Cooper Kupp. Why wouldn't you take him? Because even with Jameson Williams, even with all the weapons they have there, St. Brown is the target monster. He's the target magnet in that offense. He has run after the catch ability. He has touchdown upside. So, and I've really been going kind of more of a zero RB. It's taken me a while to kind of fully embrace it, but that's where I am now.
It's so weird. I'm always waiting on running backs. Here I am with 2 in the beginning, and you've got 2 wide receivers. So if you want to get the lowdown on this draft, just kind of reverse Marcus's name and mine, and then you probably have what normally happens between the 2 of us. LaQuan, let's talk about your 2 picks here because you were almost at the turn. So what'd you do with this first one and the second one, and then we'll recap the picks.
I went Joe Mixon, man. I mean, career high targets, reception, receiving yards last season. I know they had a plan to get the ball in his hands last season, and this season I see nothing changing different. I mean, the guy was second on his team in red zone targets, so he's a running back getting involved in the backfield, catching the ball and et cetera. And he's an explosive player, if you like it or not. And I think Joe Mixon, he's going to have another big year.
Yeah,
and then it'll be Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, not too bad, too. So Cooper Kupp, Jalen Waddle. Again, this was PPR. You'd be the front runner right now. But incredible duo of wide receivers there. Joe Mixon, if he looks like Joe Mixon and he avoids any sort of extracurricular issues, I'm going to put it that way. I don't really know which way we should put it at this point.
They look like they're sticking with him. The organization looks like they're backing him. So,
It does seem like that, right? I mean,
we'll see.
We'll see if that Dalvin Cook signing comes down in the next 20 minutes. That might change. Who knows? Garrett Wilson goes at the turn here to Chris and Patrick Mahomes. So Mahomes off the board. Then LaQuan took Waddle. Marcus, you went tight end. Let's talk about it. Mark Andrews. So how do you feel about this selection here as you continue to zero RB this draft?
Yeah, you know what? I have really become one of the people who I'm okay with reaching for a tight end. I don't love reaching for Travis Kelce in the first round. I get it. I don't knock anybody who does it. It's a smart move. It's just not for me. But in that respect, then I'm totally cool with maybe going a round or 2 later and getting a Mark Andrews who, look, if Travis Kelce wasn't walking the earth, Mark Andrews would far and away be the number 1 tight end in fantasy football. So I'm okay there because it at a onesie position is maybe one of the biggest single player advantages you can have across fantasy.
All right, continuing on here, it was my selection. I took Chris Olave. We'll see what Derek Carr can do for him. Certainly he's a capable passer. I look at the Devontae Adams numbers last year and some other years of some other wide receivers that played with Derek Carr, and I'm not too worried. Chris Olave is an extraordinary talent. I don't care if Michael Thomas is on the field or not on the field. We haven't seen him in 2 years anyway. What's the difference?
Who?
Regardless, exactly. Well said. That's about as good of analysis you can get on Michael Thomas. But I feel good enough about Chris Olave being a low-end number one receiver. Like maybe he finishes 10, 11, 12, somewhere in that range. With the two running backs I have, that's a good thing. Hopefully a better offense this year. After Chris Olave, Style 1 took Travis Etienne, then T. Higgins, Devonta Smith, Jahmyr Gibbs, Aaron Jones, and then BPE. Let's talk about your selection here.
Look, so we're half PPR, so you really want to value, at least in my opinion, you want to value touchdowns a lot more, especially at the receiver position. And for me, that's DK Metcalf, because the only way that he's going to outscore his teammates, even though Lockett, it seems like outscores him every single year, and it's like, well, why are you taking Metcalf in the third round, Erickson? Well, it's because I think Metcalf could catch 15 touchdowns. Because last year, he tied Justin Jefferson for the most red zone targets in the NFL at the wide receiver position. Now, he didn't convert a lot of those touchdowns, so that's what I'm hoping for here by banking on Metcalf here, taking Geno Smith another year in the system. I think Metcalf could have a big monster outlier touchdown season, which is big in the half PPR.
That's how I feel about you in this next year in the system of Fantasy Pros. I feel like you can take a step forward, Erickson. I think the same kind of thing. I'm hoping for him, but maybe so am I. All right, continuing on with the selections after DK Metcalf, Kenneth Walker the third, Miles Sanders at the turn, along with Keenan Allen. Great value there in Keenan Allen. We keep talking about that. After that, we have Josh Allen, Amari Cooper. Back to you, BPE. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, just another wide receiver. Again, following my one running back approach, looking at receivers, looking at guys with touchdown potential. Amari Cooper's the number one there. And look, I'm pushing my chips in again here on the Cleveland Browns, as I seem to do on every mock draft that we do, because I think that Deshaun Watson didn't forget how to be an elite quarterback. We saw Michael Vick take a lot of time off and not be in the NFL and come back and make Pro Bowls and be an all-pro player. I think Deshaun Watson can do that too. So I'm buying the discount on all the Browns players, and I'm stacking them all together.
Stacking them all together. There you go. All right, let's take a look at the rest of the board here as we go on here. We have got, after Amari Cooper, TJ Hawkinson, then Jalen Hurts, so second quarterback going off the board, J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, Debo, and then it's going to be my pick next. So as we continue to look at the next selection here, I've got some options once again. Wide receivers on the board, DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin, DeAndre Hopkins, question mark, where he goes. Nobody quite knows yet. I've already finished all my running backs. And now looking at the guys that are out there, I'm kind of glad that I did, to be honest with you. Don't really think I'm going to go tight end. Not really my jam here. There's enough QBs on the board where I might wait. Now, I might regret that, but these other two guys just lurking in the shadows here, these two. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take some upside, have a little fun here. Let's go ahead and take Calvin Ridley off the board here because I think he has another chance to be another 1A wide receiver. Give me 2 1As, 2 true number 1 RBs. That's how I feel about that. All right, after that selection of Calvin Ridley, Marcus, you are on the clock.
All right. You know what? I'm gonna finally go get a running back now, right? I went 3 rounds of that one. I feel like it's about time. So welcome aboard, Dalvin Cook. He's gonna sign somewhere. He's gonna get a big workload. He's gonna catch the football wherever he is. So to get a guy with RB1 potential in the 4th round, I'm cool with it.
Okay. He's cool with it, folks. Remember that. Marcus is cool with it. LaQuan, where are you going for your next selection here?
I'm going with the other Jack. I'm going Christian Kirk, man. I mean, he led the team in red zone targets last year. He's my dark horse to be a wide receiver 1. And I really feel as though I still feel strongly about this just because Trevor Lawrence is going to go with what he's comfortable with. Calvin Ridley is a question mark, but I do love his upside. And I definitely feel as though you took that pick away from me. So I got to take the other guy that I feel as though is going to have a huge
You're welcome. I look forward to stiffing you in the rest of this draft as it goes on. Christian Kirk going, then Rachaad White at the turn. That's an interesting one here. I mean, this is the problem here with this zone of running backs is you start reaching on guys who are on subpar offenses. You know, quality volume is hard to find. You might find quantity. Rachaad White might find that. Drake London goes next too, but the quality and quantity, that goes away very quickly in the half-point PPR. So I'm liking this so far. Marcus finally did break down and take Dalvin Cook, so he does have a running back. It's coming back to him real quick. LaQuan, as I feared, starting to dip his toes into the QB water. Lamar Jackson off the board here at the 502. Talk to me.
Listen, I'm buying into whatever the Ravens are selling this year with Todd Monken. I definitely feel as though we're going to see this huge jump in where he's at in the passing department. And I'm buying all in the Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson. Shout out to Marcus taking Mark Andrews. But you know, that's a good stack that I feel like this year is going to be phenomenal and people are going to miss out on it.
All right. Well, Marcus, you said, a 0 RB, but now you took 2 in a row. Who's that second one, and how do you feel about having a running back on one of the worst teams in football?
Yeah, I know. I got James Conner. Here's the thing. He's on one of the worst teams in football, but he's also a guy that doesn't have any real competition for snaps and touches in that backfield. And at least at the start of the year, whoever the quarterback is, non-Kyler division, where are they going with the football, right? There's Marquise Brown, and where else? I mean, I see a situation where it won't quite be Najee getting, 100 and some odd targets as a rookie because Ben Roethlisberger couldn't push the ball downfield. But I do see a lot of, Clayton Tune, Colt McCoy under duress, just shoveling it off to James Conner for a team that's bad. And so I think, I get all the concerns. I absolutely do. I just think volume is going to be there and lack of competition really wins the day.
All right. I hope you convinced yourself. That's all I have. That's I want you to make sure. It sounds really good when you're talking about it. I'm going to go, I am so tempted right now. I'm going to try to be disciplined. I'm not going to do it. Instead, I'm going to take another wide receiver because there's another drop off as far as I'm concerned too. And I'm going to take another guy who's got explosiveness, who's got touchdown upside for days in the half PPR. And that, of course, is Christian Watson. And I know people are kind of down on him because, it's Jordan Love throwing the football. But I'm going to try to talk myself into this, just like Marcus tried to talk himself into James Conner. I feel like people are discounting the talent just a little bit. And if Jordan Love can be serviceable enough, you're talking about an explosive playmaker. Again, half-point PPR, a guy with the nose for the end zone and big plays. That kind of guy is a difference maker. Troy, if we could possibly also get that draft board, if you can click on the draft board here and show everybody where that's going now. It's a good look for everybody here. After I took Christian Watson, DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin went a wide receiver run. So I am very, very pleased with my selection because now I feel much better after that run just happened. Then DF Dub took Alexander Madison, DeAndre Hopkins for Venezuela, and then BPE. Who'd you take here? Looks like you've come around. Big change in Mr. Erickson's takes on the Denver wide receiver core year over year, eh?
Yeah, because I got new information. Jerry Jeudy broke out last year when he was healthy in the second half of the season. So yeah, I think Jerry Jeudy. I'm buying the hype on him. I think that we could see an improvement across the Denver. They can't be worse. I don't know if they literally can because I think they were the worst scoring offense that we've ever seen. So let's see some improvements. Whether it is Russell Wilson, maybe Jarrett Stidham goes in and fills in. I don't know, but I think Jerry Jeudy's primed for a breakout season if he stays healthy.
I love it. If only there was a handsome bald man telling you that Jerry Jeudy was going to be the guy last year. If only. If only. Tyler Lockett goes next. Another guy I think is being grossly undervalued. I don't know why.
Oh my goodness.
Can we all talk about that? You know what? Let's pause and talk about that. I understand everyone's excited. Marcus, I get it. JSN's very exciting. I understand this. I hear it. But Tyler Lockett still got a year on his deal, and I don't see any reason why he is not clearly the 1A, if not like number one in this offense still. So why is he being undervalued? Is it just the JSN hype around draft time that people are just stuck in their heads?
I think so. I mean, people have been trying to bury Tyler Lockett for a couple of years now, and then all he does is go out and he gives you, 80 catches, 1,000 yards, 8 to 10 touchdowns. Ho hum, who needs that? I always in my head have a list of wide receivers we are taking for granted, and Tyler Lockett has now jumped to the top of that list. I mean, before it was guys like Mike Evans and Keenan Allen. Tyler Lockett is really at the top of that list, and I think JSN can be good. But I don't see why all of a sudden, Tyler Lockett has been so devalued. I don't get it, but I've been thankful for the discount where I can get it.
Yeah, an extreme discount here in this draft and every draft. And I'm glad that all of us seem to have the same reaction to it because I think that always speaks to something. There's a lot of great minds in this community. And when a lot of the great minds all kind of think alike about something, you should pay attention to that. And the reaction that everybody in this room just gave me when I said, why the hell is Tyler Lockett going so late? Remember that in August and September when you have all of your drafts. It's a very important thing to recall. Okay, Tyler Lockett, then Justin Herbert at the turn, Jahan Dotson, Dameon Pierce, Joe Burrow off the board to BPE. So Joe Burrow, you got to feel pretty strong about that selection here, right, Erickson?
I like the value of getting him in round 6. That's kind of the sweet spot I'm looking for. I'm trying to find one of these elite quarterbacks, in my opinion, that kind of fall a little bit down the board. I don't want to be the first person to take an elite quarterback. I'd rather wait a little bit more. So Joe Burrow kind of stood out to me here in round 6 as a good value. I think that he's a surefire bet to lead the NFL in passing yards. I mean, look, if Joe Mixon's, I don't know how much gas Joe Mixon has left in him, and they don't really have any other running backs behind them. So for me, it's like, let's just drop back and throw the ball 45 times per game. Like Joe Burrow's got all the weapons that he could need. So I'm expecting big things from him, even without the rushing. Like he's still putting up elite fantasy numbers just as a pocket passer. So 50 touchdowns with a healthy Chase, not out of the range of outcomes.
Not out of the range of outcomes. By the way, earmuffs about that Joe Mixon stuff here, LaQuan. I don't want you to get upset. All right, so after you go ahead and select Joe Burrow, Michael Pittman, Treylon Burks, George Kittle up next at 606, then Justin Fields at 607. That was my bet. I was hoping that he would make it back to me. He did not. Either him or Burrow. I played the game of Thrones and I lost, and that's what happens. Style Onely takes Dallas Goedert next, so which means I am now up on the clock. So taking a look at the board here, he goes safe at quarterback. That doesn't sound like much fun to me. Wide receivers out there, still the Ayuks of the world, some people that really aren't super exciting to me at this juncture. So tight end, you know what? Let's have some fun. I'm going to go ahead and just all Falcons for Joey P today. All Dirty Birds. I just can't help myself. Let's Kyle Pitts it up here because this is where the drop-off is as far as I'm concerned at tight end. I'm going to take the guy that's got extraordinary talent. I'm going to bet on talent when it comes to Kyle Pitts. I remember his rookie season. I'm old enough. It was 2 years ago. It was pretty good. Anything not named Marcus Mariota playing quarterback, I think, is an improvement. Marcus Grant, who'd you select next at the 6'10 selection?
I took Brandon Ayuk. I will say this. I was sort of kind of glad to hear you say you were going to take Justin Fields because I was upset when McTunda took him. And then when you said you were going to take him, I was like, okay, well, he wasn't going to make it to me anyway. Yeah. So I guess I feel okay about that. But I took Brandon Ayuk. Remember 2 years ago, we thought he was going to break out. Then he ended up in the doghouse. Last year, I think, was the beginning of something. And it really was about an attitude change. It was about him deciding he was going to participate as a blocker. And then that took him out of Kyle Shanahan's doghouse, got him a whole lot more opportunity. And I think that rolls over this year, even in what is a loaded San Francisco offense.
All right. And in looking after that, LaQuan, you are up next for the next selection here at 6'11". What'd you take?
I took DeAndre Swift, a little against the grain of my beliefs about Swift. I haven't been on the Swift train, but he's hometown. You know, he's happy, restart, and he's always been in that two-man system his entire career. But I think with this Eagles offense being such a powerhouse, the scoring opportunity is there for Swift to put some points on the board.
Okay. Looking at the rest of the draft board here as we move on, looks like a little tight end run is happening. Isaiah Pacheco goes off the board after Swift. Then you had Darren Waller go. LaQuan, you came back and took another tight end. Dalton Schultz. Now, this is one of the earliest spots I've seen Dalton Schultz go. Justify it for me. I want to hear it. Let's go.
This is interesting because looking at this wide receiver core, there's question marks with the Texans. And I really feel as though Dalton Schultz can end up being the number one target on that offense. And I'm not saying he's going to be the best player on the field because I believe that's Dameon Pierce. But I think Dalton Schultz can easily be the target hog for a rookie quarterback. And I'm not saying CJ Stroud's struggling camp or anything. We're not seeing any reports like that. But I really feel as though a rookie quarterback leaning on a guy that's very established to be a reliable target, Dalton Schultz can end up seeing 100 targets plus this season.
Okay. Coming up to me, it's whether or not I want to buck the trend and take a quarterback now. Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson. The question is, do I feel lucky? Marcus Grant, what did you do here with your last pick here before it's up to me?
I took Trevor Lawrence. I was looking around this time to start getting a quarterback, and you want to talk about a drop off. I feel like he's, after you get past the top 6 or 7 guys, he's sort of the top to me of that next tier. So I'm like, well, let me just get in right here, get myself Trevor Lawrence. I'm worried about all the guys around him because that offense has so many mouths to feed, but I'm not worried about the guys slinging the football, right? Like, I think if you have Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, Zay Jones, you're going to be kind of living on pins and needles week to week. But I think if you got Trevor Lawrence, you're going to be feeling pretty good about yourself.
Safe, efficient, spectacular hair. What's not to like when it comes to Trevor Lawrence? At 704, I go ahead and I took Dak Prescott because I'm hoping that all the interceptions last year were just a bad trend that he can shake off. Because the one thing, historically speaking, is this is a guy that always limited his mistakes. He is going to be an offense that's going to have to throw the football a ton. And as of right now, it's just Tony Pollard really back there. So I assume they're going to be throwing the football more. New OC, new look. We'll see if we're going to let Dak take that next step. Deshaun is very tempting, but it is a risk I don't feel like I have to take necessarily. We'll see. I feel like I'm going to regret taking the quarterback here. We'll find out. Mike Williams, Deontay Johnson, Mike Evans, Marquise Hollywood Brown next, and then David Montgomery, who I was strongly considering. BPE, you took a guy who's got money inside the jacket. It's Jordan Addison. So what's your expectations for him in 2023?
Well, I had to take a Trojan because Marcas took the other one that I wanted. So I needed to.
Is he really a Trojan? He's a transfer portal guy.
Whatever.
I don't want to hear about this.
Still
Hey man, he
counts.
helped bring the program back, so we count him. We welcome him.
All
in.
right, that's fair. Go ahead, Erickson.
All right, I'm just making my other pick here as well. So let me.
Yeah,
just
picks
do
are
that
flying
first.
off the board here. I
Okay,
can tell
cool.
you.
So I went back to back with rookie wide receivers. I went with Jordan Addison and then Quentin Johnston from the Chargers. Basically, I'm just placing my bets on these first round rookie wide receivers hitting in year one. I think that a lot of the time that where they end up being ranked is kind of like a hedge, whereas they're usually going to either finish like as a top 24 option or they're just going to flame out entirely. So I want these guys on my bench. I don't need to start them right away. I get to kind of see how they play out with Jordan Addison. If he's taking over that Adam Thielen role, Adam Thielen was top 10 in routes run last year. Is Jordan Addison going to be running? If he's running that many routes, he's going to have an opportunity to put up points. And same thing with Quentin Johnston. Josh Palmer, right? Ranked 6th in the NFL last year in routes run. If Quentin Johnston, even though he's behind Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, guys who didn't stay healthy last year, I think Quentin Johnston, yards after the catch, can break tackles. I think he adds another element in even as a downfield threat for Justin Herbert. I like big time upside with these two players, so I like having them as flyers on my bench.
I'll tell you what, man. I like Johnston this year more than Addison, to be honest with you. I just feel like it's not if, but when Michael Williams goes down, we always have the same thing. And I think Johnston can really just get in there right away and really acclimate himself. And you got both of them, which is fascinating. So a lot of upside here for you. Still just the one running back, Erickson. So we'll see how the draft wizard grades you at the end of the day. But I like what you're doing. And I think to Erickson's point, the draft is for taking talent. You can fill out your team later on, take the best talent you can. There's waiver wire. There's other things you can figure out. There's trades later on. FF Culatter, again, sorry about that, selects Evan Ingram, then Jackson Smith and Jigma goes to the Stealth Goblin over at the turn. Then starting the 8th round, Javonte Williams, then George Pickens, then the selection of Quentin Johnston. Deshaun Watson goes to Hope for Venezuela, then Scrubs takes Alvin Kamara. Tua goes to Oat Dog. McTunda takes Kadarius Toney. Daniel Jones up next. Before I make my pick, I just want to remind everybody, sometimes these picks don't always go well, and you have some guys who are on your bench who you wish you had started. And the nice thing about DraftKings Best Ball is you get the best of all of your team all season long. So they also got $10 million in guaranteed cash prizes up for grabs. And if you're smart, you would join right now the biggest best ball contest today and get your first entry back in DraftKings dollars as soon as the draft is finished. Enter DraftKings Best Ball Millionaire Contest and snake draft your team for the season. Each week, you'll automatically rack up points for your top scorers. No ads, drops, or trades. And teams with the most points by the end of the season will have a shot to take home $1 million in prizes. I did that just for Troy. Head to the DraftKings app and sign up with the promo code FantasyPros. Again, it's only with the promo code FantasyPros where you get all those perks and join the DraftKings $10 million best ball tournament and get your first entry back in DraftKings dollars. That code again, FantasyPros, only at DraftKings. Now it's up to me to make a selection here, looking at the board, and I've got these two incredible minds behind me. So I've got to make it a good pick. I've got to really bear down here a little bit. Looking at what the draft wizard is telling me to do, they're telling me James Cook is out there. I should consider him. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Khalil Herbert, A.J. Dillon, Rashad Penny. Lots of those guys out there. What's funny? When it comes to the running back situation in Buffalo, kind of feeling a little bit more Damian Harris. I feel like that's kind of unpopular, but you know what? I'm not used to being unpopular. That works for me. Wide receivers out there still, the few that I think I can live with as a potential flex kind of guy. So I'm going to go ahead and take Damian Harris because I think at the end of the day, he gets all the touchdowns. And I think at the end of the day, he gets a lot more work than people realize. Rashad Penny, interesting. Antonio Gibson, I just don't know if I'm buying the hype yet or not when it comes to him. We'll have that discussion at a later time, though, on a later show. Marcus Grant, you are on the clock for 8:10. What do you have?
Oh, I figure we can have a conversation now.
Well, you want? I don't want to ruin your short 30-second clock here, my friend.
No, all good. No, I'm kind of buying in. I'm buying into the Washington.
Oh, you took Gibson. Yes, let's have the conversation. Yes, please, by all means, do it.
I'm buying into the Washington running backs right about this spot in drafts. 8th, 9th, 10th round, something like that. Either he or Brian Robinson. Maybe it's a little bit of Eric Bieniemy derangement syndrome. I'm not sure what it is. I do think they're going to figure out how to better use these guys though than in years past, right? And I think especially now we're talking about a half-point PPR. The chance to get Gibson, who is going to be the pass catching back, no more JD McKissick there. I think you see a few extra targets go that way. I like Gibson's opportunity. It could completely blow up in my face. I'm willing to admit that, but at least for now, I'm buying into the hype, that they're talking about there.
Listen, man, I also think, considering whenever you start that early wide receiver build, you have to take these kind of chances. Antonio Gibson is one of those guys that makes a lot of sense because there's very few guys in this range that have the upside to finish well above their range. So I'm all for that. LaQuan, you had the next selection. Who'd you take?
I took Brandon Cooks. I really feel as though he's in a new spot. We kind of know how this story goes. He's putting up 1,000 yards. He's putting up 80 catches, and he's been a solid wide receiver too. Whenever he landed in a new situation, so remember his time in New England with the Rams. Even New Orleans where he started out, and it's like he's going to ball out no matter what. And you dealing with Dak at quarterback, that offense is explosive. They're averaging 30 points per game, and Dak is on the side where he needs to get these turnovers down. But I think Brandon Cooks kind of helps that out.
Yes, he does. Do you hear that, Dak? I selected you. You need to get the turnovers down. LaQuan and I are begging you, for the love of God, get him down. Rashad Bateman and Elijah Moore go with the turn. I'm so mad because Elijah Moore is the guy that I wanted to make it back to me. I can't believe it's another guy that until some other, short yardage pass catcher shows up into this system here, I'm all in on Elijah Moore at the ADP. 901 is a great spot. Khalil Herbert, you selected with your next pick, LaQuan. So let's talk about that Bears backfield. How do you feel about this?
The Bears backfield is probably impossible trying to figure out who's going to do what because they're all ballers back there. And I really love Khalil Herbert, but to be honest, I didn't like taking him at this spot. I feel as though I could have waited, but the clock was kind of down. But that's the point of drafting, man. You got to be ready on your toes. But Khalil Herbert, he's definitely a guy who's explosive. He has enough on tape where this guy's going to break away for 70 yards and a touchdown. So I really like that upside there. And hopefully, he can get involved in the passing game as well.
Continuing to throw darts at the running back position is Marcas Grant. You threw another one at Elijah Mitchell. Let's hear about it.
Yeah, I mean, look, this was a little bit of I played the game and lost, right? I was hoping that I was hoping that either Brandon Cooks or Elijah Moore was going to come back to me. Neither one of them did, but I don't mind Mitchell here because one, I think when you notice what happened when Christian McCaffrey went to San Francisco, he wasn't playing 80-90% of the snaps. He played about 2/3 of the snaps. Kyle Shanahan was rotating other guys in. When Mitchell is healthy, he's going to be that guy that rotates in. So he's going to have a role in this offense. And if something were to happen to Christian McCaffrey, it's not unthinkable, then Mitchell walks into a really large opportunity in San Francisco. So it wasn't maybe the pick that I wanted to make, but I felt like it was a decent pivot because I didn't like any of the receivers left at that point. There is a wide receiver out there that I like that I'm hoping comes back to me, but I'm not anticipating it.
Well, considering how you, myself, and LaQuan all feel about the same players, I'm glad this is the only draft so far this year we're doing together because it's going to get ugly out there in the streets. All right, Juju Smith-Schuster was my selection. Once again, there's nobody else to really throw the football to, so I'm just not going to overthink this one. Juju is good enough. He doesn't have to be spectacular because it's an unspectacular, grinding out kind of offense where they're just going to plug him over there. He's going to get a ton of targets, and hopefully that volume will be enough. And there will be some quality volume too now that they have an actual offensive coordinator. Last year was a complete joke in New England. I'm sure Andrew Erickson could go on for days, but the live stream won't be long enough of how upset he was about how the offense ran in New England last year. But after Juju goes, Cortland Sutton, Michael Thomas, there you go. What are we at? Michael Thomas went after that at 906. So that's your official Michael Thomas marker for those of you who still care. Gabe Davis is next at 907. Then Zay Flowers, who I'm very high on, goes to Scrubs. Brian Robinson goes next. Then Erickson, you finally start breaking down and taking some running backs. Let's talk about them.
Yeah, Samaje Perine. Look, we don't know the exact health of Javonte Williams after he had a multi-ligament tear last year in his knee. Now, the reports have been, yeah, he's going to be okay. He'll be ready. Maybe he'll be ready. Maybe he won't be. I've seen the story before. This is J.K. Dobbins 2.0 all over again, which means Samaje Perine is going to be lacing him up week one as the week one starter, and I got him in the 9th round. So I like that.
Okay. Jacoby Myers. Yeah, shots fired there. Jacoby Myers, Alan Lazard, then it's turn Chigakonkwo, followed by James Cook at 10:02. We're in the 10th round now. Jamal Williams at 10:03. So this is another one, too, where, when you're just trying to take shots at running back, look for scoring upside. Certainly, Jamal Williams had a lot more scoring upside than anybody.
17 touchdowns.
Is that all? I feel
He
it.
could
Yeah,
score half of those, and he'd still score more touchdowns than most running backs.
that's a sad state of affairs, but true. So, how do you feel honestly, like about this build? So Nick Chubb is your hero guy. So you've gone hero RB, and now with P Ryan and Jamal Williams, you think you can piece it together, considering how great your wide receiving core is?
Yeah, because I'm looking at week 1. I'm going to be churning through my RB2 spot through the waiver wire, through trades all year long with this roster. But I'm looking at week 1. We don't know when Kamara is going to get suspended. He may not even be on the field. Who's going to be the starter for the Saints with the easiest schedule in the NFL? Oh, Jamal Williams. And the same thing with Javonte. Don't know if he's going to be available week 1. So I think for week 1, I like the prospects of a Samaje Perine or a Jamal Williams, and I can play whoever has the better outlook in that week. But I don't want to be locked into an RB2. I'm going to be fluctuating that position throughout the season. At least that's my idea. And then just winning on the margins with wide receiver and flex.
All right. Continuing to wing on the margins, I'm going to go ahead and make my pick, and then I'll recap the rest here for everyone as we go. Multitasking. Who said men can't multitask? They're wrong. Look at me right now. All of these picking, commentating, doing reads, a lot going on. All right, let's continue on here. After your selections here, let me recap what happened. After Samaje Perine, Jacoby Myers, Alan Lazard, Chig, James Cook, then we had Jamal Williams, A.J. Dillon, Rashad Penny, Jamison Williams, who's going to miss 6 games to start the season. Zach Charbonnet, I was hoping you would make it to me. He did not. Style Oney took Darnell Mooney. I took Odell Beckham because they're paying him. And I'm of the mind of, here's what I am of the mind of, gentlemen. See if you back me up on this. Follow the money. Follow the money. That often tells you what a team thinks they're going to be doing more often than not. So I love Zay Flowers. I probably would have taken Zay Flowers first, but Odell's still around there, and Rashad Bateman can't stay on the field. Who did you take next, Marcus, with your 10-10 selection?
Well, one, I was afraid that you were going to take this guy. I was glad Nico Collins made it back to me because I've become a Nico Collins fan. Look,
why? Tell me why.
I know the offense is going to be bad, but he right now projects as the number 1 receiver in Houston. And in a team that's going to be trailing and throwing the football a lot, I do think a lot of targets are coming his way. And look, as a 4th wide receiver, I'm cool with it. I have no problems at all taking him there. And like, by the way, your follow the money thing with Odell, like I get it, except the money doesn't make him not old and coming off 2 bad knees. Like that doesn't help.
Well, he's only got 1 bad knee.
That doesn't roll back the clock. You know?
They would know me with the Rams.
I get what you're saying, but like that doesn't give them the fountain of youth just because he got paid.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we shall see. Again, he's my 5th wide receiver, so I'll live with that. Hot take: I think that John Mechie leads the Texans in receptions and receiving yards this year. Not Dalton Schultz, not Nico Collins. John Mechie to Alabama, who moved the chains and then let Jamison Williams go make splash plays. That's the dude for
so that'll
CJ
be Nico.
Stroud.
That'll be Nico on the
Not gonna
outside.
be
Making
Nico.
splash plays. That's the guy I want.
They ain't ready yet to do that. This is not a team that's coached by Nick Saban. Last time I checked, Jerick McKinnon goes next to you, LaQuan. So you're hoping for a little bit of a repeat of what happened last year for the Chiefs RBs.
Look, man, yeah, they bring him back. I mean, they want to get him involved, and he was explosive, man. He put points on the board, but I kind of got shook, with you guys taking Nico Collins and Odell Beckham. I'm like, man, where do I pivot now? I got to go running back. You guys, sniping the hell out of me.
Well, this is why we're here, to have some fun.
Nico Collins causing an absolute earthquake.
Who'd have thought? After Nico Collins, Jerick McKinnon, then Jeffrey Wilson Jr. at the turn. We're going to start with Rondell Moore in the 11th round. Tyler Algier at 11:02 to LaQuan. So LaQuan, talk about Tyler Algier and why you want to throw shade at me.
Listen, I was a huge Tyler Algier fan last year. I was campaigning for him to be safe in the draft. And, there you go, be John Robertson. But the Falcons are going to run the ball. And I really feel as though he's still going to be involved in some capacity where he's going to be able to have some type of, good weeks where he's relevant, where he scores and stuff like that. So, I'll take him. No problem.
All right. And Marcus Grant doing what I probably should have done, which is just kind of waiting and hanging in there and then being aggressive on Anthony Richardson. So the upside is clear. Marcus Grant, let's talk more expectations because everybody knows the upside is breaking football, but he is a rookie. He's got some inexperience there. He's also got talent and measurables that we've never seen his like before. So what is your expectation for Richardson in 23?
I think the expectation is that he's sort of Justin Fields light. That even if he doesn't throw all that well, right? And I think that's what everybody believes, that he still has work as a passer, that his rushing ability is going to keep him afloat and that he will put up a few QB1 weeks. There will be some weeks where you want to, close your eyes and look away. But there will be some weeks that are legitimate QB1 weeks. And that's sort of what I'm banking on. I mean, he's my second quarterback. I just wanted the upside, right? I just wanted the athleticism and the upside there just to see what it could be. Like, I don't want to be the person on the sidelines being like, man, I should have taken that pick in the 11th round. So like,
it's exactly what you would have sounded like too. It's a really good impression.
Exactly what I would have sounded like.
Yeah. Also, if you're watching here on the YouTube channel, I know you are, make sure you subscribe to Fantasy Pros and make sure you like this video too, because it really doesn't take a whole lot to just tap a thumbs up. I mean, it's pretty easy. So we appreciate that. And of course, we want to hear from you. If you're watching on the back end, not live, drop some comments in the chat, and then we can go ahead and read them afterwards. Who are the picks that you like? What are the picks that you don't like? Tell us why Tyler Lockett is being undervalued. I took Sky Moore because I'm not going to quit yet. This is the part in most drafts where I start to just take Kansas City Chiefs wide receivers and just light a candle in church and just hope that, somebody at some point works out. Raheem Mostert goes next, then David Njoku, Devin Singletary, Tyler Boyd, Zay Jones. I almost took this guy, and Erickson took him. This is what happens when you spend too much time together. Devon Achane. Erickson, let's go.
I think that he's the perfect fit in this Miami offense. Outside zone, the guy can take one step and show off the track speed, 80-yard touchdown. Look, I don't think Raheem Mostert's going to stay healthy. I think Jeff Wilson's just a guy. And as long as Dalvin Cook doesn't sign in Miami, then I think it's a great pick. But we'll see.
Okay, and then you took another running back, Kendrick Miller, too.
Real quick, how does Mostert last beyond Wilson? Like, I feel like I'd rather have Raheem Mostert than Jeff Wilson if I'm picking between the two of them. That's just me.
I think it's because Mostert's 31, and I don't know. I feel like Wilson has more left. Maybe that's how I
think Marcus, you're right. It shouldn't happen, but I think everybody's tolerance for Mostert at this point and the lack of play, I think that's the problem.
I get it. Like all three of those guys, Wilson, Mostert, and Achane, they're all bunched relatively close together. So it's not like, one is head and shoulders above the other. But
there's one that is, and his name is Dalvin Cook. So when he signs that,
there's that. Yes.
Adam Thielen goes after Achane, then Romeo Dobbs. Hunter Renfrow starts the 12th round. Deonta Foreman, then Kendre Miller. So BPE right here, Erickson is basically giving you the blueprint for hero running back. You take the hero running back, you crush every pick, and then you start throwing running backs to the wall and seeing who sticks. And I like what you're doing here, Erickson. And I don't like saying positive things to you, but I'm going to have to here. So let's talk about Kendre Miller in this selection. Your expectations for him this season.
I absolutely love Kendre Miller as a rusher. I thought it was very indicative that the Saints drafted him so high when he didn't have any pre-draft testing. Like, usually when you see guys not test at all because of injuries, they fall dramatically in the draft. Not Kendre Miller, especially with a class that we liked a lot of these running backs, and he was still a day 2 pick. So, look, again, we don't know when Alvin Kamara is going to get suspended. We don't know what the deal with him is. He wasn't really effective last year as a rusher. So, I don't know what Kendre Miller and what Jamal Williams' roles are going to be. But I know that the minute that Kamara gets suspended, they're not going to be available this late in drafts. So, I'm trying to get some closing line value here with some of these Saints players, trying to get ahead of the news, similar to with Dalvin Cook. Alexander Madison was so much cheaper before Dalvin Cook was officially released, even though we all kind of saw it happening. Kamara's going to get suspended at some point. Don't know when, don't know what games, but it's going to happen, and it's going to open up opportunities for these other Saints running backs who I think can deliver good offense, easy schedule.
All right. So good stuff there from Andrew Erickson on these picks here. Again, if you want to do hero RB, he's giving you the whole roadmap. This is the way to do it. DJ Chark goes next, then Donovan Peoples-Jones. Kirk Cousins to Dog McTunda selects John Mechie right from under me. Must be watching it live. Ha ha, McTunda. I'll talk to you in Discord afterwards. We'll have a chat, you and I. Geno Smith goes next to Sty Wani. Then I selected Roschon Johnson because I'm going to go ahead and troll LaQuan a little bit and take the best running back in that backfield because his name is Roschon Johnson. Gus Edwards to you, Marcus Grant. So how do you feel about this selection here?
Every time I go to the draft, like I have to Google, like, did something happen to Gus Edwards that I missed? Like, I just don't understand how
knee surgery
that for the last two. Yeah, but here's the thing. But J.K. Dobbins, right? Like, I mean, he's coming off injury. Their production, their usage has been almost identical the last couple of years, but one goes so much earlier than the other, right? Like, I get it. Everybody's in on J.K. Dobbins, which I guess taking the bus is much more economical. Like, I'm always going to do that.
Taking them. LaQuan, you're up next for your selection. What do you have?
This was another pivot I had to make because I was going to take Gus to bust for those exact reasons.
Well, here's the thing. I took Gus because Andrew took Kendre Miller. That's where I was going to
go. Like, I'm getting tortured over here, man. Like, I'm pivoting last.
Glad to get back at you for taking Nico Collins. Like,
yeah, this is just getting ugly. This is falling apart very quickly here on us. All right, go ahead, LaQuan. Talk about your selection here a little more.
But man, listen. Cole Kmet finished the season so good that it's so underrated. I mean, I feel as though him and Justin Fields built that chemistry, the back end of that season where, we're talking about Cole Kmet as a top 5, top 3 tight end on the back end of the season where he was making very productive catches. He's in stride, and Justin Fields just looked completely better as a passer in the back end of the season. And I'm hoping that momentum can go, into this next season.
Okay, after you take Cole Kmet, Pat Freiermuth goes. Interesting that you took Kmet over Freiermuth. That would be my only thing. I love Cole Kmet.
Target shares there in Pittsburgh, but I'm going with Cole Kmet with the momentum how he finished last season. Because this whole hype with George Pickens is kind of getting out of crazy, so it might.
I hear you.
Second.
All right, Jalen Warren goes next. Then Michael Gallup back to you, LaQuan Jones. Now Michael Gallup says he got a spring in his step, so he's a year removed from that knee surgery. Now, you buying this spring?
I'm buying it. I'm buying into Michael. I'm buying into the Cowboys' offense as a whole actually this season, and I think Michael Gallup might pop out some weeks where he's popping up as a solid flex. So I'm going to bank on he made Amari Cooper kind of look like a wide receiver too. Back when he was back with the Cowboys at one point. So I think Michael Gallup has the talent. He just needs to stay healthy.
Wan'Dale Robinson goes next to Marcas here. This is a Giants wide receiver room that is crowded, to say the least. Do you have any clarity, Marcus, of how you like to approach this?
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, that's Marcus Grant from NFL Network.
Generally speaking, look, I think Darren Waller's guy who's going to lead this team in targets. I like Wan'Dale Robinson. I mean, here's the thing. Anytime I'm drafting a Giants wide receiver, you're looking 13th, 14th round, something like that. I like Wan'Dale Robinson because I think they screwed it up with Kadarius Toney, and this is their chance to sort of have a do-over, to have that guy that you can kind of use in a lot of different ways, get him the football, and just sort of let his athleticism take over. So I either take him or I'll take Jalen Hyatt, who's the guy who looks like he's going to be on the outside, kind of that big splash play, field stretcher sort of guy. So when I'm looking at the Giants wide receiver room, it's either Robinson or it's Hyatt. Those are the only two guys that I really have any interest in this year.
Just wait for Isaiah Hodgins to prove us all wrong again. So after Wan'Dale Robinson, I mean, I picked him up everywhere last year, and let me tell you, no complaints. No complaints about Isaiah Hodgins. I took Rashid Shaheed because this is another one. I can't believe I have him and Olave. That's not my ideal situation, but I'm at the point where I'm just taking talent. That's what I'm trying to do here. Kenneth Gainwell goes next. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Chuba Hubbard, Jerome Ford, Aaron Rodgers, Ezekiel Elliott goes to Big Pot Energy. Go ahead, talk about him.
Look, this is half PPR. I need touchdowns. Look, if Zeke goes anywhere and has any fantasy value, it's because he's going to be a goal line back because he's got no other juice besides outside the 5-yard line. So if he signs back with Dallas, great. Look, he could sign with the Chargers. Kellen Moore is there. I need a red zone back. Take some pressure off Austin Eckler. Give it to Zeke. 10 touchdowns.
Yeah, I got no problem with this at all. This is a great value on Zeke. When he does sign somewhere, he'll probably move up at least, 3 rounds, my guess is. In casual drafts, maybe more like 4 more. After that, Greg Dulcich, then Tyler Higbee, Tank Bigsby, Stealth Goblin there. Tank Bigsbying it up. Alec Pierce goes next, and then BPE. You took the Cowboys defense. After that, KJ Osborne, Van Jefferson. I know that upset you, LaQuan. I thought you might want to do that with your last pick, knowing you. Curtis Samuel, Jalen Hyatt goes to McTunda. Style took Chase Claypool. I took the San Francisco 49ers defense because where I am in the draft, I'd rather get the defenses I want. Marcus, you took a guy that I've been taking late in drafts too. It's Dalton Kincaid because I just believe he's going to be playing a lot more slot than people realize. Do you see it the same way?
I do. I also think that, look, I joked at the beginning about having to get a Trojan or whatever. I also still have nightmares about what Dalton Kincaid did to SC during the regular season. I mean, I watched that game and I was like, that's not fair that Utah gets to play Travis Kelce. I don't understand. But I think he's going to get on the field a lot. And I do think they're going to sort of relegate Dawson Knox to more of an inline sort of situation, make him block the occasional target. But I think Dalton Kincaid really has a chance to be an impact player this year.
Kincaid, then Jared Goff, Isaiah Hodgins in the 14th round. 15th round starts off Eagles, then Paris Campbell to you. So, LaQuan, you took Jared Goff, you took Paris Campbell. How do you feel about these last 2 picks?
Jared Goff really impressed me last season, and I think a lot of people, were out on him. But his football IQ, his quarterback IQ actually increased. I mean, he hasn't thrown an interception since week 9. I mean, that's unheard of for Jared Goff and his decision making. As a Rams fan who watched it very closely, it's like, man, he has the weapons now, and he has the bunch of talent around him. Gibbs is there, man. I'm just buying into Jared Goff as my QB too. Going all in on him.
All right, Troy, now that the draft has wrapped, if you could just click on that little pick analysis, we could see who won the draft. I, of course, took Rashee Rice with my last pick because, as I said, this is the part of the draft where I just start selecting Kansas City Chiefs wide receivers, and I'll probably be wrong about every single one of them. That's how it goes. After that, Andrew, who was your last selection here?
I took Mike Gesicki as my starting tight end because I think that he actually could lead the Patriots in targets because Juju Smith-Schuster's knees are messed up. Does not have healthy knees. So give me Gesicki, proven. He's been a tight end 1 before in fantasy. And look, he's this year's Evan Ingram. Everyone wrote him off because he sucked on the Giants. He sucked on his last team. They paid him. New guy. Mike Gesicki's good to go.
Well, speaking of good to go, I don't know what your grades were, gentlemen, but this might be a first. I got an A+, a 97. Wow. Somehow the draft wizard smiled upon me today. I can only assume it's because I went back-to-back running back in the half PPR. They said, that's a good boy, Joey P. You didn't screw up with all your stupid wide receivers you take all the time, but I'm still probably going to do that anyway when there's big money on the line. However, it looks like I won the draft, which means that probably this will be the last podcast we ever do. I don't know how this happened, but I'm going to leave on a high note, true Costanza form. Chris, congratulations. You were second, and McTunda was third. Let's see how the rest of our friends did. LaQuan, what grade did you get from the draft wizard?
A big F. And
an F? Oh, that's not
Jesus. I lost.
I didn't know we had those even. Yeah. Marcus Grant, would you like to share your draft grade?
I got a C.
Okay.
I'm perfectly average.
So no summer school for you. So you still get to go and have fun with your friends. BPE, Andrew Erickson, how'd you guys do in the draft here? How'd you look? This squad, your hero RB equated to what?
Randy Moss, 84 out of 100. B.
There you go. And a really good squad, too, I might add. You were at the 6th spot. So I just want to, once again, thank everybody that joined us from our Discord. If you want to be involved in one of these, this is a great fun. They do mock drafts all the time. It's a great group of people. There's fantasy discussion going on all the time. We got baseball channels, betting channels, fantasypros.com/chat. And I assure you, if you go premium with all the Fantasy Pros tools, you also get all those stages, all those extra access on Discord, including getting to do cool stuff like this. And I love our community there. Who liked my draft? Well, Joe Pizzapia liked it the most of anybody, which I love me some me, as I always say. Who didn't like my draft? My friend Joe Arico didn't like my draft. He doesn't like my selection of Bijan Robinson or Chris Olave. He ain't having it. Erickson, any experts, maybe like a Marcus Grant or a LaQuan Jones, like your draft?
I don't know, guys. You guys like my draft?
No. I don't want the actual opinion. I want their robot AI opinion.
Their robot AI opinions are staying quiet at this time.
Okay.
They have not told me what they want to do. Dave Kluge from Football Guys likes my draft.
Hey, the Kluge.
Joey Wright from Front Yard Fantasy likes my draft. And Mark Ringo from Sleepers Busts likes my draft. So they like Murray Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, some Nick Chubb enthusiasts. Love it.
All right, let's really break down the teams real quick, and then we'll head out for the day. So, Marcus, you're going to go to war here with Trevor Lawrence, Dalvin Cook, James Conner, but you've got Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. That is sexy, my friend. That is really something else. Mark Andrews, Brandon Ayuk, then Antonio Gibson, the Jets. Defense, your bench, you've got Anthony Richardson on the bench just in case he explodes. Same thing with Dalton Kincaid, Elijah Mitchell, Gus Edwards, Nico Collins, Wan'Dale Robinson. How do you feel this went for you, and is this a team that you feel comfortable going out there and competing with?
I think it's not a bad team. I think part of the reason that, the draft wizards don't like it is because, at the moment, Dalvin Cook is a free agent. And at the moment, I'm projected to score the same number of fantasy points as Dalvin Cook. But I do think that in the long term, I like it. I think there's a lot of upside with Trevor Lawrence, like I said. So I'm actually cool with it. I love my wide receivers. I like my tight end a lot. I think it's one of those things that right now in mid-June, looks a little speculative. I think once we get to August and September, though, it'll start to round into shape a little bit more.
All right. LaQuan Jones, Lamar Jackson, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift, then Cooper Kupp, Jalen Waddle. Man, if it was a PPR, I think you would have finished better than an F, my friend. Christian Kirk, Dalton Schultz, Brandon Cooks, Khalil Herbert, Jared Goff, Cole Kmet,
Jerick McKinnon, Tyler Algier, Michael Gallup, and Paris Campbell. He said, screw that. I'm not taking a defense. I'll figure it out later. I like your moxie, my friend. So how do you feel about this roster now that you're looking back on it?
Looking back on it, I really love my wide receivers, man. Volume is king, and it's always going to be king. And these guys have tons of red zone presence, and they have tons of touchdown upside. So I absolutely love that. Now, my running backs, I kind of went against the grain with, Khalil Herbert there in the ninth round, but I definitely feel as though I'm looking at all upside, with my bench running backs. My 1 and 2 with Swift and Mixon. I think a lot of touchdowns are on the table for them, man.
Okay, let's talk about Andrew Erickson's squad here. Joe Burrow, Nick Chubb, Jamal Williams, A.J. Brown, Amari Cooper, DK Metcalf. That is also a really good trio there with Nick Chubb at the top and a real top 5 quarterback in Joe Burrow. Mike Gesicki is the tight end, and Jerry Jeudy, another stellar wide receiver. Dallas defense, then Quentin Johnson, Jordan Addison, taking the youth, taking the opportunity, throwing darts at running back. Samaje Perine, Devon Achane, Kendre Miller, and Ezekiel Elliott. Erickson, I feel like you're pretty pleased with this.
I mean, this is pretty much when I go into a draft and I don't know what's going to happen, this is kind of the plan I want to come out with. So obviously I'll adjust on the fly if certain guys fall, random things happen in drafts. But if I can have my way, I want to follow a hero RB approach, and I want it to kind of look like this. So I'm really happy with it. Now, am I thrilled about having Mike Gesicki as my starting tight end? No, but I also had to spend 0 draft capital to get him. And I have Mike Gesicki and all the other tight ends in the waiver wire pool because I have no allegiance to Gesicki. If he doesn't fire week 1, he's gone, and I'm going to find somebody else to fill in as my tight end. So again, if you miss out on one of these elite guys, just wait at the position, because you'll have the entire waiver wire and the entire year to try to find someone to replace your tight end slot.
Great or late. He's way harsh, Andrew Erickson. He really is. All right, here's my squad. Dak Prescott, Bijan Robinson, Najee Harris, Chris Olave, Calvin Ridley, Christian Watson, Kyle Pitts, Damian Harris. Again, this is half PPR, so I'm looking for some touchdowns. San Fran defense. And on the bench, I got Juju. I've got Odell, Sky Moore, Rashee Rice, Rashid Shaheed, and Roshan Johnson. That's a cool group of names, too. Marcus Grant. I've known you probably the longest here in any of this group, so I'm going to let you break this team down. What do you think about this squad?
Let's see. Let's go look at this. I mean, I think Bijan is going to be huge. I look at your wide receivers.
You don't have to sugarcoat it. I feel like you're trying to spare my feelings. I already got an A+. You can't knock me down off the pedestal. I already feel great.
I mean, you've already won the draft, so anything I say really just doesn't even matter.
It does matter because, again, we don't live in a world of robots yet. Maybe 2 or 3 years.
I think Dak's going to be better than people give him credit for. I think having Brandon Cooks cuts down on those turnovers a lot, because you look at who he was throwing to last year. It was CeeDee Lamb, kind of a hobbled Dalton Schultz, and then Tony Pollard, and that was it. So I think Brandon Cooks helps a lot. I have concerns about Christian Watson. I think the ceiling is high. I think the floor potentially is really low, and so hopefully he can get you more to that ceiling than the floor. I'm in on Kyle Pitts again because all of us fantasy nerds, we just can't quit him.
No, not yet. Not yet.
I'm trying to look where else. Like
but I think Juju is the kind of guy where it's like, look, you want the boring guy, you take Juju later. You want the upside, take Christian Watson. Doesn't work out, you've got somebody to plug and play.
You gotta have both. Like, here's the thing.
Right.
Your wide receivers could be amazing. Like, if Odell hits, if Juju hits, it's gonna be incredible. I have concerns. That's all.
I have concerns too, despite the A+. But that's the whole point. That's why we're doing this, and you should do it too. Download the Draft Wizard app. Go to fantasypros.com/draft wizard. Run the mock draft simulations. Get some friends, enemies, colleagues together. Run some of yourself, or go join our Discord, fantasypros.com/chat, and go hang out with that crazy group of people there, because they mock draft all the time, and they will get you ready. Believe me, they will. Make sure if you haven't, subscribe to Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. Click that little bell till it goes ding, and drop the comments below, because I want to know from you who won the draft. Which team do you like? Which team do you hate? Be nice, though. This is just football, so please be kind. We're just talking about football stuff here, and I want to especially thank our guests for coming on today. LaQuan Jones, Marcus Grant, and of course, Mr. Big Pot Energy. Shout out also to our boy Troy, who is running the 1s and 2s today, is making everything work here on the draft board on the technical end. And again, when it comes to multitasking, it's me. I'm running the draft. I'm getting A+. After this, who knows? Might go run a couple miles. I don't know. Who knows what's in store for me the rest of the day? But gentlemen, again, I just want to thank everyone for joining us, especially our friends in our Discord community for drafting with us today. Don't forget also, they got best ball going on over on DraftKings. You can sign up today. $10 million in guaranteed prizes. Go download the DraftKings app and get involved in that contest right now, and use that fantasy code FantasyPros when you do, because that best ball tournament is going on and we want you to be a part of it again. Fantasy Pros is the code. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For LaQuan, Marcas, and Mr. Big Pot Energy, Andrew Erickson, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next